Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you could be here because today we're talking about really achieving predictable growth and maximizing the profits in e-commerce. So look, if you are in e-commerce now or even thinking about jumping into e-commerce, you are in the right place because we are going to make your profits explode with what you're going to learn today. And we literally have like one of the grandfathers of the industry. I mean, he was doing this before e-commerce even became a thing. And so with us today is Sabir Semerkant. Now, Sabir is an e-commerce expert, growth strategist, and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience, generating over 1 billion in revenue. Did you hear that? 1 billion in revenue. So he's recognized and endorsed by industry leaders such as Gary Vee, Neil Patel, and Matt Higgins of Shark Tank. Sabir has been a trusted advisor to Fortune 500 companies, guided startups to scale, and helped iconic brands like Coca-Cola, Canon, and Tommy Hilfiger, Sour Patch Kids as well, achieve rapid and sustainable growth. Now, in 2024, Sabir's rapid 2X program propelled 29 brands across 17 different industries to new heights, delivering an impressive 108% average ROI in just 21 days. Now, his track record includes scaling more than 150 brands with notable successes like Ashley Stewart, which grew from 3 million to 300 million under his leadership. Sabir has developed the 8D method, a proven framework designed to unlock 2X to 10X growth for an e-commerce business with product market fit. Now, this method equips businesses to thrive even in tough economic conditions, enabling them to boost sales and maximize profits in today's competitive landscape. Sabir, thanks for joining us today.
It's great to be here, Ty. Just before we get started, one correction there. Ashley Stewart, 3 million to 30 million. I would love to claim 300 million. I think you added an extra zero there. 3 million to 30 million. You know,
I'm sure they would love it
in 2 years, by the way. Still impressive. It's in 2 years, 10x growth, you know.
Well, three and then my
maybe 5 years from now I'll get there that I'm growing businesses in 2 years 100x, you know. But I have sped up. I have sped up that growth, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 3 to 30 million in that short a period of time is very impressive. And thanks to you, and Ashley should thank me for manifesting 300 million in sales. I just did that for everybody.
That's good. Manifestation is a good thing.
This 8D method, like, how does this work? I mean, you've done some pretty cool things with this. So how does this actually help these e-commerce brands grow as rapidly as they're growing?
So here's the thing. Over 25 years of e-commerce, what I've learned is that there is no single lever that you can pull, right? Everybody is looking for that magic bullet, right? That there's one magic bullet, one ad creative on Meta ads that they would do, or one audience thing that they would do, or one piece of software they will put in there that is going to do the magic for them, and they're going to see this incredible growth like this from zero to $1 billion, right? The fact is, e-commerce is a multi-dimensional game, right? So the 8D stands for 8 dimensions of e-commerce. You cannot optimize the front-end marketing while neglecting logistics on the back end, right? And you cannot over tech one part of your business and not pay attention to your marketing and storytelling and your brand positioning, right? So that's why, this 8D method I've crafted over 25 years. So this is not something it's not a new book I wrote last year, So this is something, it's a framework from experience that has been built over 25 years. And every single quarter, it gets updated. The latest ones for the past couple of quarters, AI integration and the changes in meta ads and stuff like that, right? So those are much more relevant to March of 2025. So no framework out there is as updated as this one, and it has the right foundational maturity and legs, so that when your business you want to grow your business, what you don't want to do in your e-com business is, or any business, what you don't want to do is a one-trick pony kind of a tactic that you do, and then next week it stops working, right? You want to put in that effort, and effort means time. Effort means money, because you're putting in money into ad dollars and stuff. Time means that you're either productively using your time or you're wasting your time, right? You want to put it into things that compound growth over time. And because this show is all about business and profitability and stuff like that, compounded growth is what makes you successful, right? So much so that I would believe that Warren Buffett, if he heard about this program, he would be proud of what we have built, right? Because it's compounded growth, it pays dividends. It's his language, basically, right? And I love the guy, by the way. I follow his investment advice. So that's the 8D stands for 8 dimensions of e-commerce, and we can jump into what those dimensions are. How do you prioritize it? And it's also for entrepreneurs to not waste time and really focus on the things that matter and do the right things in their business, and not waste time on BS, like because a content creator talked about some kind of a hack on a meta ads or whatever. Now they're going and scrambling, trying to do that hack, and rarely it works, because the content creator is interested in engagement and views and comments, doesn't really care about your business, and now you're going to waste time and money it's working on something that doesn't really work.
So, what are these 8 dimensions?
So what we do is we start with, there are 8 dimensions. I'm gonna tell you all 8 of them, but let's focus on, because of the limited time we have, we'll focus on the first one, because I want to deliver very high value to your listeners so they can go and start working with it, or exploring it at least. So the first dimension is performance optimization. Second is pricing. Third is marketing and storytelling. Fourth is customer journey. Fifth is product positioning and brand building. Six is logistics. Seven is technology optimization, tech stack optimization. And number eight, very important, team optimization, right? So as you go through these 8 dimensions, and you're optimizing it for all the right foundationally, you're optimizing it in the right places, what happens to your business is it continues growing, right? It continues growing profitably, right? It's not something, this is one of the reasons, like I'll give you a very basic math, and then we can jump into the first dimension, right? There are 365.25 days in a year on Earth, right? When we move to Mars, because of Elon Musk, maybe the days might be different, but on Earth, that's what it is, right? If you do 1% improvement daily, just 1%, and I'm sure that, Ty, you come across business owners who want ridiculous percentages, right? This comes from
Right,
a
all the
guy
time.
who has grown businesses 118%, right? The beauty of 1% improvement in your business on a daily basis is it compounds, because you're very purposeful about and intentful about the thing you want to do to get that 1%. And that 1% in any KPI in your ecom, it could be your email open rate, it could be a better bounce rate on your site, it could be a better add to carts, just add to carts, not conversion, right? Just add to carts. It could be 1% more click-through rate on your meta ads, right? So on a daily basis, let's say you're a robot and you don't sleep and you work 365.25 days in a year, your business is going to grow 36.5x following this 1% rule. That's it. So I'm not looking for, that's the secret recipe here. I'm not looking for 15%, 20%, 30%, nothing. I just want to improve my day by 1% in my business. That's it. One single percent. And if I can do that, great. I'm going to hire myself tomorrow. If I couldn't do it, I'm going to fire myself at the end of the day because I didn't accomplish that 1% goal. It's nearly impossible for you to not get 1% improvement in something in your business, right? Then Ty, the follow-up question is, like, nobody works 365.25. Even if you're a hardcore guy, you're not going to work that much. We take sick days, we sleep, we vacation. My kids have to go to recital, Easter Sunday, Christmas, Hanukkah, Eid, whatever. Okay, fine. I actually did the math for you. It's about 220 working days. Once I give all of your weekends off, all of those things off, still 22x, right? In a year, 22x. Let's say we don't get 1% improvement. We get it less than half the time, 10x. You can 10x a business in 12 to 18 months. I've done it several times, and I can give you several examples of that. And by following this 8D method prescription.
So what is so effective about this where you're accomplishing results like doubling sales in 12 weeks time? So how does this method help somebody actually do that and like stand out in this saturated market of e-commerce?
First, there are so many distractions around us, right? There are so many distractions. It's about doing the right things, like, in the right amount of things that amount to something, right? So one of the prescriptions is you work on only 5 things this week. That's it. When I say 5 things, I don't mean 5 projects, 5 tasks. That's it. You work on one task on Monday, another one on Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday. On Friday, 5 p.m., when you finish the week, you know that you have done a great job, because by Tuesday, you're seeing the effects of Monday. By Wednesday, you see the effects of Monday and Tuesday. By Friday, you're seeing all of those things compounding into the weekend. When you go like, wow, I did that and it actually works. And this is really great, right? That's what also entrepreneurs learn about. It's not about doing too many things. So many entrepreneurs talk about, like, like a badge of honor, like, I work 18 hours a day, Sabir. Like, I cannot get to, like, finish all the things I need to do. Why? And 7 days a week, right? Why are you working 18 hours a day? Why are you working 7 hours, 7 days a week? I barely sleep. No, listen, you need to sleep. You need to have 7, 8 hours of sleep, because unless you reset your body every day, you're not going to think clearly. So you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So don't do that. I don't condone it. Gary Vee does not condone it. So anyone that actually wears it as a badge of honor, oh, I only sleep 3 hours a night, sleep is for losers or whatever, that's a bunch of garbage. Don't follow that. Your mental health is important. Otherwise, you're going to suffer from anxiety, depression, all sorts of problems, right? A lot of mental illness and stuff like that. And that's a very serious topic among entrepreneurs. You need to get your sleep. You should be working on things like that matter in your business, and purposeful things that actually make a difference in your business. It's not about the way you spell business is with an I, not with a Y. It's not busyness. It just doesn't make sense for you to waste so much time on stuff that it's not gonna matter, right? And then you get stressed out thinking like, why am I doing all this stuff and it's not really matter? It's not working for me. This is why this ridiculous growth that people experience is because I actually set them on a specific track. Pay attention to the data. The data speaks very loud to you. You're in an e-commerce business. You have to pay attention to the right data. In fact, you're paying attention to it on a daily basis and making adjustments, and you're tabulating it on a weekly basis, right? E-commerce is not a monthly game. It's not a quarterly game. It's not an annual game. You make adjustments on a daily basis following that 1% rule, right? And then on a weekly basis, you tally up what things did you work on, and what did it produce, and then you make adjustments from there. But in this 8D method, you're actually working on hundreds of optimizations over a period of time, right? In each one of these dimensions, but it's very prescriptive. Like, literally, I take over your business, telling you exactly what needs to get done, very methodically, right? And then you implement those kind of things. And these are not overwhelming amount of things, because I don't want to add on to your stress. What ends up happening is people actually start cutting down on things that didn't matter, right? Some of them takes them a little bit more time because it just has become part of them to do too many things, But it's focusing on very specific things, very prescriptive things. Once they do it, they become very addicted to it, and every single day they want to know, what are the 5 things I'm working on this week, because they can even measure it in their hands. Like, these are the 5 tasks. That's it. That's why God gave you, the higher entity gave you five fingers, right? You can, like, literally count them on your hands, and then what is for Monday, what's for Tuesday, and so on and so forth. You just go deep and get it done, and that's it, right? And these tasks don't take that long. If you have the expertise, meaning that either you have it or you have somebody on your team with the expertise, you'll get it done. Or if you don't have it, if you're part of our implementation program, that's the Rapid 2X. If you're part of that, we have Rapid 2X Partners Network, and these guys are approved Rapid 2X implementers. So even if you don't have it, you don't have to search for people. We can actually put you in touch with the right expertise.
So You've hit on a lot of important points. And one of the things you talked about with this 8D method is to find one thing to improve by 1%. Then you've also talked about focusing on the most important things. Is there a starting point? Like, is there a starting point of what you think an e-commerce business should focus on first that's most important to improve by 1%?
Task one, dimension one. It's literally performance optimization. That's the first dimension that we focus on. You have already invested. I'll make some assumptions about your business. You're on Shopify, you have Klaviyo, you do things with Meta ads, you might do some things with Google ads, right? You probably have some content on social media. You have may have written a blog article here and there, either on your site or externally. So that's your stack. That's what you have invested in. Great. So let's focus the first 6 weeks on optimizing the hell out of this stack that you already have. Nothing new. If something is missing, like there's a gaping hole, I will let you know that you need to fix that, right? Once you fix this, you're fixing the foundation. The very first task is optimize your site for consumer attention span. Ty, what do you think in 2025 the consumer attention span is?
It's ridiculously low. I mean, seconds.
1.7 seconds.
Yes.
Right?
I
Why?
think we're less
I'll
than a
give you an
goldfish now.
example. Your eye has learned from TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Amazon app to ignore things that take more than 1.7 seconds. If the person, that content did not make their point immediately with you, you're swiping, right? You're going to ignore it. That same behavior from the consumer exists on your site, right? And how do you measure this consumer attention span? There's a technical way to do it, right? You use GT metrics, right? GTmetrix.com, right? It's a great tool. I use it all the time, right? You put in your best-selling product page. You put it through that. You say, yeah, audit it for me. It comes back. It gives you a nice big number. Most Shopify sites score around either a D as in David or F as in Frank, right? That's a letter grade from A through F, right? So they rarely score an A or a B, right? But the other important KPIs that are in there is there's a KPI called time to interact. That time to interact needs to be under 1.7 seconds. I might bear with 2 seconds, but you're still in that 0.3 seconds, you're still losing people. But it's worse. For most Shopify sites, that number averages around 28.5 seconds. Where is 1.7 seconds and where is 28.5 seconds? And every second above that 1.7 seconds, high bounce rate. That's very typical of Shopify stores, low conversion rate. Your ROAS is going to suffer from it because of that, right? Your page views, all of that, site engagement KPIs, right? And email marketing. When you do email marketing, people are clicking on your email. Your email is great. Klaviyo is doing a great job delivering all this traffic to you. What happens? You drop the ball when people show up to the site because that's not their attention span, right? So that's the first thing. Universally, regardless of where they're coming from, all this traffic that you're throwing at your site doesn't matter where it's coming from. Optimize it for 1.7 second attention span because every second above that, 100%, I'll put my money down. You're losing money.
So
you're
what are the
losing money
things you
from
can
revenue. You're losing money from ad dollars.
what are some of the things you can do to be able to create that, to be able to have it where you've only got the 1.7 seconds to get the job done?
There are some technical things. This is where you need a web developer who understands site optimization and not just some random person on Fiverr. What you need to do is there's a combination of technical and non-technical things you need to do, right? The non-technical thing every entrepreneur can do is go through all of their site images and optimize them, right? Your photographer, they gave you that image. It's an amazing, you can make a poster out of it. But listen, I don't care how it appears on poster. This is what they're using. It's not even a desktop. 72% of your traffic and e-commerce sales are coming from this. This being, by the way, for the people who are listening and they're not watching this, right? I'm pointing to my iPhone, right? This is an iPhone device, for example, in the United States, represents the bulk of smartphones, adoption in the United States, right? That's the primary device. Secondary device is Samsung Galaxy, right? Again, it's not your desktop. So if your web developer, a web designer is showing your website on a Zoom meeting, with the screen share on their beautiful 40-inch iMac, that's BS. That's bullshit because it's less than 20% of your traffic. Another 8% goes to tablets, basically. 8% tablets, 20% desktop. So literally, I'm giving you permission with my experience to ignore the desktop for the rest of 2025. It doesn't matter. Be obsessive about the experience, the speed of your site on mobile devices, and specifically the devices that are primary and secondary devices. So it's either iPhone and secondary being Samsung Galaxy. And if this podcast is being listened to globally, in other markets, it might be the other way around. You need to optimize it for both of those because the screen profile is a little different, and where the notch appears and stuff like that. You need to optimize it for that, right? That's the other part of this, right? And your images, if they are heavy, they are going to slow down your site, right? You need to optimize them. And also anything that appears below the fold, lazy loaded. That's a technical term. That's where you need a technical person to implement that on your site, because the theme that the Shopify theme or WordPress template that you're using may not have that capability. So you need a developer to write that code correctly so that your images above the fold are loading immediately and they are optimized, and then below the fold they are loading only when you get to it. So that's one of the easiest things that they could do to optimize it. But if the prescription is not followed correctly, right? You go like, oh, this is what Sabir said on this podcast, I'm going to go and do it, right? The problem is that if you hire somebody off of Fiverr, the challenge with that is they may not understand the depth of that prescription of what I'm telling you to do, right? You need to really be very obsessive for that first task to make sure, because that first task is going to be your defining moment. A lot of brands in that first week of implementation, which is 5 tasks, I just went over the first one with you. With the first 5 tasks, they see 70 to 79% improvement in their revenue in that first week. So if you don't go deep enough and you don't implement the prescription correctly, what ends up happening is that everything else that we do in the 8D method, it's going to always come back to where, well, your pages are not optimized correctly. It's not showing up fast enough. You're not making your point. The experience is not optimized for mobile.
The rapid 2x method, you have, extraordinary results, right? 108% growth in just 21 days on average. So who is that for?
So here's the thing. There are 2 types of entrepreneurs, right? This has more to do with personality than the business. Business is secondary. Personality is first, right? There's this one group of entrepreneurs. They always look for who's the guy that's going to do that for me, right? And then they always go around kissing a lot of frogs. And some of those frogs tend to be very toxic frogs, right? Meaning that those agencies or freelancers end up losing you money, right? And they just go through that, and they don't just change their behavior. They just keep on going. Like there's always another person that's better, right? In essence, what they're doing is they're not appreciating the expertise that comes in. To them, it feels like a commodity, right? That group does not belong in Rapid 2X, right? Because the Rapid 2X implementation program requires you to embrace this new methodology of working. And that's why you get this ridiculous growth. And if you don't embrace it, and you don't, this is one of the reasons, one of the requirements in Rapid 2X program that you need to be part of, that you have to, the founders are the ones that are attending the program. I'm giving them the prescription. Their team is welcome to join, but they are the ones that need to join, and because they need to understand what needs to get done, because they are the ones that they need to farm out all those tasks to people that need to get them done. They need to stay on top of it. I'm holding them responsible. They cannot say, oh, my team screwed up, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, you're not the right personality. You're out, right? In the interview process, we actually go through this. It's not like I want to take your paycheck, just because you're giving it to me. I want to make sure that you have the right personality to get the stuff done when I'm telling you that needs to get done, right? The one that actually succeeds really well, I'll give you an example. I mean, there are so many of them. Lisa Denon, woman entrepreneur, right, came into the program. She said, like, listen, you tell me what needs to get done, I'm going to do it, right? In her case, by the way, that average that you quoted about 118%, right? In her case, that number was 1,400%.
Wow.
And I'll fast forward that story. She's one of the OGs in the Rapid 2X. She anniversaried that growth, and now she's comparing this year's growth to last year's growth, right, where she experienced that. She's still growing at 48%. Her Meta ads ROAS is 9x, right? So it's the thing is, when people come in, they should come into the program with an open mind, right? And then literally put the blinders on, try to ignore all this noise, because we are so distracted with a lot of BS and wrong advice that's out there, right? Now, for the first time, you have access to prescriptions that have led to ridiculous growth for a lot of brands, right? Another brand, Oram Brothers, they are men's jewelry brand. They make bracelets for men, right? Think about how specifically niche that is. Do you wear bracelets, Ty?
No.
So that's a very niche business. They were stuck at $1.5 million for several years with mounting losses because they kept on, like every entrepreneur, you're in that business credit business, right? So they kept on going for credit cards, business loans, all sorts of inventory, whatever models that they have for capital raise, right? They did that. The thing is, the revenue stayed like this, the expenses went on cropping up like that. They went into the negative cash flow, right? They joined the program last year, January 20th, 2024, right? Within the first few weeks, 112%, 6 weeks, 112% growth. And we started clearing a lot of things up with the other dimensions I mentioned about pricing and stuff like that. We actually increased prices. We actually rationalized the product catalog. They were getting into businesses that they had no business getting into, right? That just because like they ran out of ideas, like, what do you mean you ran out of ideas? There are so many genuine stones that you could use to actually make beautiful pieces. You're not going to run out of any ideas. They started adding like, earrings and necklaces for men. And that's even getting more niche, more extreme niche, So it just didn't make sense. So we actually focused on men's bracelets. So what happened was September 9, 2024, 1 p.m. We were watching it like, oh, they surpassed 1.5 million. What was more impressive was that not only did they surpass it, positive cash flow. September 9 through December 31st. And you know what happens during that period. That's the high time for Black Friday and all of that, right? And from September 9 through December 31, we added another 1.5 million. We ended the year at 3 million, positive cash flow, much higher gross margin, even when we were discounting, right? Because we became very strategic about how we discount, not coupon to debt, and we finished the year off. We paid off all of our business loans and our credit cards, and we entered the year nice and clean with positive cash flow and more handle over our cash management and our business and growth. This year, we have set a goal for $10 million from 3 million to grow another 3 million. Grow another $7 million this year. We started the game at 1.5 million and negative cash flow.
Wow. Sabir, powerful stuff today, on both the 8D method and on also talking about your Rapid 2X program. Well, we just scratched the surface. Like you said, we only dove into one of the 8Ds. So where can everybody go that's watching this and listening to be able to learn more?
To make it super easy for your listeners, we have actually set up a special link and a special offer for them. It's growthbysabir.com/business credit. You can include that in the podcast description and video description. And when they go there, they will learn more about it. They can apply to the program. Well, and the site is very rich with very high value content. I actually, the Oram Brothers example I gave, I actually do a detailed step-by-step walkthrough video telling you exactly what was done to make that happen, right? So that you get to consume that. There's other video content on the site also, plenty of it, like really valuable, just like this podcast episode we just did, right? Very highly valuable. They can learn quite a lot from it. From there, once they apply to the program, my team will also instruct them to attend one of my complimentary live workshops on Rapid 2X, where I go even deeper into this first dimension and actually give them all the prescriptions that they need. So definitely, so that going to that URL unlocks a lot of great valuable content, as well as the next steps they can learn about the 8D method framework, as well as the Rapid 2X implementation program.
All right, awesome. Sabir, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Ty.
All right, so listen, if you are looking to create an e-commerce business or create explosive growth in an e-commerce business, make sure you go to growthbysabir.com. That's growthbysabir, SABIR.com /business credit. And there's a special offer you can take advantage of. You can also see Rapid 2X success stories. You can access a ton of content by Sabir and his team. They even have a community that you could tap into, and you can learn more about getting started with Sabir and his team as well. It all happens at growthbysabir.com /business credit. So make sure you check it out right now. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care. Have a great day.